Is anyone else's parent just like not planning for retirement at all?
Well, at one time we thought we were in real good shape.
Have you got enough to retire on? Have you got enough to last your lives, do you think?
We hope so.
I don't think I can ever retire. I really don't. I don't think it's possible to retire anymore.
Okay, so today we're going to be going over something that I don't think people are taking nearly as seriously as they should, and that's the retirement crisis. Baby boomers and Gen X are already at the point where if they didn't save money already, they're most likely going to be working for the rest of their lives. But millennials are already thinking that way as well because everything has risen in price so much. Homes, vehicles, groceries, you name it. And currently Gen Z starting off their adult lives in an absolutely terrible job market that they can't even get out of the heavy student loan debt they're in, let alone be able to save for retirement down the line. It is all just an absolute mess. We have a lot to go over today, along with comments from you guys from previous videos. So if you want to be featured on a future video, leave in the comments down below. But let's start off with a clip that was filmed 30 years ago and see what people were saying even back then.
Well, at one time we thought we were in real good shape.
Have you got enough to retire on? Have you got enough to last your lives, do you think?
We hope so.
And it's just one thing after another, and them savings that you had laid back seemed to disappear.
Every day I have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm ready to retire. I realize that I can't live on Social Security. It's just not going to be enough there, enough in the style of life that I want.
Social Security is not going to be enough, and so they're going to have enough invested on their own.
My wife has a 401k.
We each have a Keogh.
You have IRA, right? We both have IRAs.
But to have enough down the road, if you just invested in CDs, you're going to have basically what you have now, because inflation will just eat away all the gains.
I used to save using bank CDs.
CDs are very low.
And I just don't think that's going to get me where I want to be.
Marry rich, I don't know.
So before I say anything, we could go over to some of the comments. Knowing where to invest back then was also harder. You had to go through a broker to do it. Now you could do it on your own through your phone, Robinhood, Webull. There's a million different apps. Now you just have to invest in the S&P 500 and you're good. People are starting to get more and more worried about the stock market because of the AI bubble. And even though safer index funds, SPY, VOO, are pretty heavily invested in technology, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. My only hope is to keep being profitable in the stock market and retire in another country. But even that opportunity won't be possible if the dollar loses its status as a world reserve currency. I'm going to work until I die, even though I have enough to retire now. I don't see the point of sitting around and not being productive, and that's not what I'm trying to say in this video. I have the same mindset as well. I don't think I would just stop one day and go, all right, I'm gonna sit on the couch until I'm in the grave. But just having the financial burden lifted from your life, you could go do whatever you want, maybe passions. You can make some money here or there, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I think that's the goal a majority of people have. And what these people were talking about 31 years ago is just as relevant today. Inflation is eating away at a lot of people's savings. I have absolutely no confidence in Social Security being around when I get up to that age. I personally think I'm going to have to invest for my own retirement, and with how expensive everything's gotten and wages not keeping up, there's a lot more people thinking like this.
I don't think I can ever retire. I really don't. I don't think it's possible to retire anymore because the amount of money you need to retire is going to keep going up as you get older because inflation and everything else is going to cost way more in the future. So right now, if you're like, oh, $1 million and I can retire, probably not. I mean, you could probably be okay for a few years. But then once inflation and everything else kicks in, you're going to start paying way more for the things that you need to live on a daily basis. So people are just going to keep working. I mean, that's why you always see people continuing to work even past 65. It's because they can't retire. And most people can't retire. Most people.
I remember a while ago we went over a video of a whole bunch of the older generation not being able to retire currently, and it kind of looks like with every generation after them, the problem's only getting worse. And more people like him, that I'm assuming is a millennial, are starting to realize it earlier and earlier. But we could take a look at what a lot of Gen Xers are thinking about right now.
Gen Xers are worried about their retirement. Some of them saying that I'm never going to be able to retire at all. Nina McCullum is one of them. She's 55 and she was just laid off last year, and it wasn't her first time either in her career. So between dealing with layoffs and not really having a solid financial retirement plan through an employer, things are a lot scarier. She admits she was living paycheck to paycheck. So when she didn't have enough to even pay the bills, how was she supposed to save for retirement? This story is common amongst a lot of Gen Xers, which are those aged between 44 and 59. They were taught by their boomer parents that if they show up, do their best, they'll have access to a pension and things will look great and dandy and they'll be at home once they're 65, gardening or doing whatever they want. But studies have shown they're the least confident of all age groups when it comes to retirement readiness.
I feel like this could be a story for millennials and even Gen Z as well, talking about the job market. It's difficult to even land a well-paying job, let alone staying there long-term. Company loyalty is basically non-existent, so banking on your employer to match a 401k long-term is just not a super safe thing to think anymore. We have a comment from you guys right here, retired boomer here. I'm good, but I don't know how my kids will be able to retire with a pension. And when we start seeing stats with millennials and Gen Z, it is not looking good at all.
Millennials are going to work until they die, and Gen Z is going to have to work even longer, according to a new article released by Yahoo Finance, saying that millennials and Gen Z are going to have to save $3 million in order to retire comfortably by age 65. If that doesn't blow your mind, let's look at some more facts, because this gets way darker really fast if we look at the details behind what they're saying here. First thing to point out is if you start working at age 20 and you never take a year off, or any time off for that matter, and you work until 65, that's 45 years of working 9 to 5, 5 days a week, maybe more than that. So if you look at that 45-year span of working and you divide the $3 million you need to retire by those 45 years, you wind up with $66,000 a year you need to save in order to hit that $3 million mark. Thankfully, we don't have to save. We can invest in the market, which is going to help us hit this target. So if we expect an average of 7% return every year compounded for those 45 years, you only need to invest about $800 per month in order to hit that $3 million target.
Okay, so $800 a month is a lot less than $66,000 a year, but at the same time, how many people actually have that expendable income in this climate? Another thing people are getting increasingly more worried about, pretty warranted in my opinion, is the constant stock market gains long term. It does average anywhere from 8 to 12%. The last clip was using 7%. However, as all of us are pretty aware how crazy AI and all the tech industry has gotten, they've really been pushing up the entire stock market gains for quite some time now, and it does seem like a house of cards. Now, I'm not trying to give you financial advice, but I know that a lot more people have been looking into precious metals, a lot of gold and silver, partially because people are starting to worry about the value of the dollar. Just leaving those money printers on. There are also some other ETFs that don't invest as heavily into tech, so maybe those are some ways to protect yourself against the possible AI bubble popping soon, whatever that may be. But we could go over to some of the comments. I'm tired of paying into Social Security because I'm never gonna get to use it. Like I said earlier in the video, I don't believe I'll be getting a penny from that. At the end of the month, after bills are due, high rents and inflation, I have about $100 left over. So even that $800 a month is pretty out of reach for many right now. But we do have a comment from one of you guys here. I've been putting my money away for retirement since I was 26. I treat my retirement as a monthly bill. That's why I think learning how to be financially responsible as early as possible is extremely important. It kind of feels like that's the only way to possibly retire down the road, and hopefully that's what these types of videos on the channel help you with. I mean, we have an example right here of a daughter who's definitely more financially responsible than her own father.
Is anyone else's parent just like not planning for retirement at all? And I don't even know if it's like planning, like no savings at all. My dad has 0 savings in retirement right now. My dad has 0 credit cards. My dad has 0. I called my dad and I was like, hey, if you have any stocks in this company, like maybe like think about pulling something. He says, I have no stocks, period. I said, oh, I'm not worrying about this, but I'm planning to have to take care of you. And he goes, I don't want you to think like that. And I said, I'm sorry. If you don't want me to think like that, start planning for yourself. Is anyone else's parent like this? Because literally, and then he just told me, he just says, because when I am moving, I'm going to be living in like a cheaper place. And I was like, I'm going to be having more savings, so I'll have like a little bit more freedom. And he's like, and then we can go on trips together. And I'm like, ooh. And then we're going to take that money that we would go on that trip and we're going to put in your retirement fund.
I mean, at least she's responsible, so there's more of a chance that she'll have a bright future ahead. But her own dad sounds like a lost cause. My dad's 60 with no savings, still working construction. Like, bro, you can't do this job forever, especially construction. Double points if your dad also took out a credit card in your name and tanked it before you were 18? Alright then. Who needs stocks when you got this bad boy just hiding your money under the mattress? My parents have no savings, just debt. Very, very common now. And we have another example from you guys. My dad's a perfect example of this. He made 6 figures for as long as I've been alive. I'm 26. He didn't even take the employer match from work for 10 to 15 years. I don't remember exactly what he told me, but he doesn't own a house and plans on working into his 70s because the absolute lack of planning. He would legitimately be done if he just saved a portion of that money, especially making 6 figures possibly 20 years ago. Goes way farther than it does now. He would have already been retired, probably sitting on the beach, hanging out for the rest of his days. Now we have another short clip here, kind of a tangent. I didn't really know what video I should put this in, but we'll just roll it and talk about it after.
But who can afford to do that? Who can afford to start? You know, if you don't marry well, you got to keep working.
I feel like you might be one of the people that could afford it by now.
No, not by now. Not yet.
Okay, so this is Whoopi Goldberg, somebody who's been in the entertainment industry for such a long time, saying that she's currently not able to retire. Now, I could have put this clip in this video, possibly the living above your means, the celebrities going broke. I wasn't too sure, but we could go over to the comments. Whoopi cosplays being working class. She's done this bit for years. I think it's her tactic to be relatable. That does make more sense to me, especially with the landscape of the world right now. Ridiculous, is she living above her means? That's what I was thinking. Mind you, her net worth is $45 million. I don't know, regardless of the situation, either she's living way above her means, spending way more than she should, or we're just all totally screwed, because if somebody like this can't afford to retire, then how are any of us going to be able to one day?
I'm 57 and broke. Those are the words of a woman who has gone viral on YouTube after sharing her story about how she left her corporate job that was paying good money. She had a retirement, she had a pension, and she decided to leave that job, move to Atlanta, and pursue her dreams as an actress. And when everything fell through in Atlanta, she found herself dipping into her retirement until that money ran out. This woman shared in her story that God told her not to do it, and she did it anyway. She went against her better judgment, threw caution to the wind, and chased a dream. And you can chase your dreams, but don't throw everything away while doing so. Do both. Do both, but always, always have a safety net. Don't wind up old and broke. And please use this as a cautionary tale, because I personally know a lot of 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds, almost 80-year-olds that are broke.
Okay, so we got a couple things to talk about with this one. Initially, it seemed like she had it made. A good job paying into her retirement. She was getting pretty close to being able to do what so many are not going to do in the future, and threw it all away for her passions to be an actress in Atlanta. Now, I'm no actor and I don't know too much about the scene, but I would assume you'd either need to go to LA or New York City. I did not think Atlanta was the hub for acting careers. I could be wrong, but another thing, whether you think it's God or just her instincts, deep down she knew this was the wrong choice and she did not listen to herself and still went through with it. Unfortunately, show business, being an actor, actress, is a brutal industry, and she wasn't successful with it, drained all of her money in the process, and now she's back at square one. That sounds like an absolute nightmare to me. We have another experience from you guys here. My parents had nothing but Social Security. My dad was disabled, so not much could be done there, but when I tried to talk my mom out of quitting work, she was offended and said she deserved it because she had done her time. Now they have to decide which bill isn't being paid each month. That is not the way that I want to live my sunset years.
Why do we have so much debt going into our 60s? You know, 59 and a half is designed to be the time when we can withdraw from our tax advantage retirement accounts.
Yeah, I should be thinking of retiring now, but I'm actually just doing the opposite. I feel like I'm just starting out.
Why is there so little invested?
Well, we can't all be my brother. My brother's smart. Not that I'm dumb, but he started doing all that investing at a very early age.
But why
and
didn't
saving.
you? Let's not deflect on that.
Right. Why didn't I? Because I'm the black sheep of the family, right? I am the guy who had to go off and go to art school and all that kind of stuff.
I went to art school.
Well,
yeah, no, people can still be responsible and go into the passions they desire.
Yeah.
Why were you irresponsible with your money?
Great question. I don't know. I have no idea. Why? It must be some kind of, I don't know.
Okay. I can answer that. His brother gave up short-term fun for long-term gains and security. He gave up long-term gains and security for short-term fun. Now he resents his brother for planning his better future. The inability for people to take responsibility is crazy. He represents most Americans. Financial literacy is never taught in public schools. I can attest to that. Everything that I know about finance, I've learned myself from the internet. And once you start seeing a lot of clips like this with the older generation not being able to retire, more of the young people start getting into the doom spending mentality. I'm gonna live for now, get whatever I want, and to be honest, that just makes your entire situation worse.
I know the cost of living is so high right now, but us millennials love to spend our money. We are guilty of that. We love spending our money on lifestyle, adventure, $7 cups of coffee, Netflix and chill, DoorDash. How about a Sunday brunch? But people will ask us, what are you gonna do about retirement? Aren't you thinking of retirement? Not really. We're going to end up working and pivoting every 2 to 5 years to a new career and a new job, and we want to have fun along the way. We're the first generation that does not know what 30 years ahead of us is going to look like. We could be living on Mars. You know, our parents and grandparents' generation, they knew if they worked hard and followed this map, they have their house paid off, 401k, pension, or Social Security, and they could see their future. We know for sure we won't recognize our world by 2030, let alone 2050. So we're the generation that's going to have to pivot. And while we're pivoting every 2 years, we want to have some fun along the way. So I think, of course, we have to save and invest and work hard. But we love spending our money because that's just who we are as a culture, and we like to have fun.
But I don't think that save and invest mentality is too common either. We see all these random influencers, strangers basically, on social media going on trips nonstop, buying whatever they want. They got a new G-Wagon, a Range Rover, and all the people scrolling, watching on their phone want that life as well. So they take out some credit cards, start swiping, and it gets completely out of control. I'm not trying to make it seem like nobody should have a single ounce of fun until they're 70 years old and have enough money to retire, but the pendulum swings so far in the opposite direction many times that people are now living beyond paycheck to paycheck with absolutely no plans for their future.
Hi, my name is Shara, and the truth is my husband just recently turned 57, and we came to the realization that we have no plan for him to stop working and retire. Like zero. We have nothing saved, we have nothing invested, we have no plan. We don't even have kids to move in with if things get really bad. So now we have a much shorter time before he physically cannot do his work anymore, like 10 years. And since he's been the sole income of our marriage, most of our marriage, then we really need to figure something out in a much shorter time. He's been self-employed since before we were married, and I'm going to explain later why focusing on retirement really just wasn't a priority throughout our marriage.
Okay, so this person turned it into a series on their channel, but we could go over to the comments. With all due respect, how do you realize this in your 50s? Getting old and the cost of being old didn't dawn on us until we saw our parents going through it now. That's what so many people don't realize, even with them in their 50s, all the way down until the Zoomers, even Gen Alpha. Most people may have bad backs or bad joints, but not serious issues that cost a lot of money down the road. That becomes pretty common with old age. So you don't really think about the cost of medication and everything else that goes along with it until you start seeing something like this with their parents going through it and realizing how expensive it actually is. 10 years of aggressive savings and a favorable market can get you to a comfortable retirement. Along with having to generate more income to be able to save, you also have to bank on the stock market just constantly going up while we're already near all-time highs. As I've already said before, people being worried about AI and tech, it seems pretty shaky right now. Why didn't you save? I've been saving for retirement since I was 22. The crazy part is we have a successful business. We just forgot to actually start planning, plus our life changed direction several times. I don't know if it was a successful business, a lot of money was coming in. It kind of sounds like that money was just spent on fun things without thinking of the future whatsoever. We got another comment here. Honestly, I thought I'd be retiring this year. Instead, I'm clocking in worrying if I'll outlive my savings. Between the pandemic fallout, helping my daughter through college, and this economy, retirement feels like a luxury.
So I asked the question, what do you do when you're 55 and have no retirement, no savings, no 401k, no family, no partner, no assets? And you guys responded with so many suggestions. So please keep those coming. The basics of what I got was open a Roth IRA immediately and max it out, if possible, every year. And then also, there were words like financial advisor and acronyms like ETF. I don't know what these are, but we're going to figure it out together. Also, a lot of people said, you know, there are a lot of us in this situation. And a lot of people also commented things like, I dream about a community of like-minded people, either tiny houses or Golden Girls style. And I think about all that too.
All right, so with the community style living, I think that's becoming more of a necessity for people than a choice. I remember us going over a video a while ago where there was a woman in her 70s still working. She had several roommates that were basically just strangers. She didn't have any family to fall back on, but she could not afford rent where she lived, so that was really the only option for her. And with her not knowing anything about Roth IRAs or ETFs at all, I think that is one of the positives about social media, especially with the younger generation. Whether you're actually looking all of this stuff up, learning by yourself, or just scrolling on TikTok and you get a viral financial video. Even with it having all the drama, you know, the Caleb Hammer clips, you could add in the Dave Ramsey show as well. It at least makes more people aware about finances in general than to just be completely in the dark like she was, even in her 50s. We could take a look at some of the comments. I'm counting on Social Security and I am afraid. I'm not gonna lie, I would be too. I thought I was the only one. I'm 55, no savings, no partner, no assets, and unfortunately there are a lot of comments like that.
Do you want to know something crazy? It's that the average person retires with $200,000 when they're 65 years old, and that $200,000 is expected to get them all through retirement, meaning if they live till 80, they only have $200,000 to spend for 20 years, meaning they spend $10,000 a year. Like, that is the smallest amount of money. I'm not trying to put anyone down that has that amount of money because everyone's situation is different, but my point is that if you are a young person, if you invest $100 a month for 40 years and earn 9% interest a year, you will end up with over $400,000, which is double the median of people. Now, the point of all of this is that it doesn't matter how much money you put in, put anything that you can, because anything is better than nothing. It's just that investing now is the most important thing, because you do not want to be, 50 or 60 or even 70 years old and trying to retire and only have $200,000, because that is not a livable thing. You have to rely on Social Security, which everyone knows is not a lot of money. So do yourself a favor, invest now, and you will be much happier later on. I promise.
That's what I think the overarching point of this video really is, just being able to save any amount of money as early as you possibly can. I know with the earlier stats, having to save $800 a month to be able to retire, that was at a 7% gain per year. This one was a 9%. And people will start seeing those numbers and say, I can't save $800 a month. What's the point of saving at all? I just give up. But just being able to put away absolutely anything will help you way more down the road than just winging it.
Could you explain this to me? Why? At 54 years old, and my husband's almost 60, our whole entire life, well, not entire life, but you know what I mean, our adult life, we have worked hard. We have raised 2 beautiful kids. We've paid our bills. We've paid our taxes. We are nowhere in life. We still live paycheck to paycheck every week or every 2 weeks. Our retirement, little, very, 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 very little. Where did we go wrong? We're good. Blessings for that. Good family life. We didn't do extravagant things in our life. We're still struggling paycheck to paycheck. But there again, we don't have much and we want to retire. I want to retire before I'm in a wheelchair or I can't walk. I want to be 90 and not retire.
The comments here don't help this woman too much, especially now in the position she's in. Poor choice of not putting something away for retirement, not too late to start. But it sounds like their income was constantly just enough to be able to pay the bills. You have to start saving for retirement in your 20s and 30s and don't touch it. While I agree with that, again, it didn't look like they had too much expendable income. But we're going to finish off this video with a news story that unfortunately I think will become increasingly common as time goes on.
She's well past the age of retirement and she's still working.
Di, this is what you should be doing.
Yes.
Sitting outside having a cup of tea,
Yes.
enjoying your retirement.
But there's no stopping Di.
Hello, girls. Hi, Di.
Today is Di's first day back on the job after shoulder surgery kept her on the sidelines for 6 weeks. But she's also missed her income.
Is there lots of work?
And that's what keeps her coming back to her computer as she edges closer to her 80th birthday.
Why haven't you retired yet, Di?
Because I can't afford to. I mean, my wages are $1,100 a fortnight. That's what I take home. I get 700 odd part pension from Centrelink, but my rent's that wipes out my rent. So I'm really living on the 1,100.
This is going to be every millennial and Gen Z in 50 to 70 years. And obviously from that clip, this is not just a US problem. Even though a majority of the clips were from America, this is happening all over the world as well. But that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. YouTube thinks you'll like this video popping up on screen right now, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, and I'll talk to you guys later.